Today, I will introduce you to seppuku. Seppuku is an act in which Japanese samurai cut their own stomachs and take their own lives. How do you feel about this? You might think it's terrifying. It's a foolish act. Of course, in modern Japan, the practice of seppuku has completely disappeared. However, throughout Japanese history, many significant and great figures have taken their own lives through seppuku. In this video, I will explain what is seppuku. Why did people commit seppuku? Seppuku may be considered a reflection of the pride and way of life of the Japanese people in the past. I hope this video will help you learn more about Japan. Japanese history shows that the meaning of seppuku has changed slightly over different periods. First, I will explain what seppuku originally meant and how its significance evolved. The history of seppuku. From around the year 1400 to 1600, Japan experienced many internal conflicts. Wars were constantly occurring across the country. These wars were fought by regional rulers and the special class of people who served them as they sought to expand their power and land. This special class was called samurai or bushi. Bushi is another term for samurai. So in this video, I will use the term samurai. Samurai were soldiers of a special class who went to battle under their ruler's commands. Samurai were responsible for protecting the lords and their territories, and ordinary people did not participate in wars. After a battle ended, many weapons and personal belongings left behind by samurai remained on the battlefield. At that time in Japan, commoners living in the war-torn areas were allowed to take these weapons and samurai belongings. Naturally, there were also many severely injured samurai left behind on the battlefield. It was permissible for commoners to take the weapons, clothing, and possessions of these wounded warriors. However, no one wants to have their belongings taken away without resistance. As a result, in many cases, commoners ended up killing wounded samurai to take their possessions. Rather than being killed by commoners on the battlefield, many samurai chose to end their own lives. This is believed to be the origin of seppuku. Take responsibility for the defeat. One person who significantly changed the concept of seppuku was Hideyoshi Toyotomi. In 1590, Hideyoshi Toyotomi put an end to the long period of internal warfare in Japan. Before achieving ultimate victory, he fought in many battles. However, through these numerous battles, he began to question the need to fight until the complete annihilation of his enemies. Therefore, once he was certain of his victory, he allowed enemy rulers to commit seppuku of their own free will. If they did so, he spared the lives of their remaining samurai and common people. From this time on, rulers who realized their defeat would commit seppuku to take responsibility for their failure and seek mercy for their remaining warriors and civilians. This was the start of seppuku being recognized as a way to take responsibility for one's failures. Seppuku as punishment. In 1603, Ieyasu Tokugawa overthrew the Toyotomi clan. From then on, the Tokugawa shogunate ruled Japan for the next 260 years. During this period, Japan was mostly free from war. Seppuku became a form of capital punishment for criminals. However, seppuku was only allowed for individuals of the samurai class. As a privileged class, samurai were expected to admit their crimes and take their own lives, which was considered honorable. Seppuku manual. During the Edo period, seppuku was a form of punishment, so formal rules were established. The seppuku procedure varied depending on one's social rank. Samurai of high rank were allowed to commit seppuku in their own residences. Before performing seppuku, they changed into formal attire and drank sake to prepare themselves. They also had a subordinate standing behind them. This subordinate had the duty to behead them in case they did not die immediately after cutting their stomachs. Samurai of lower ranks performed seppuku outdoors, usually in a garden or courtyard, under the supervision of officials. In their case, an official would behead them after they committed seppuku. People who were not samurai were not allowed to commit seppuku. Instead, officials would execute them by beheading. Because of these established rules, seppuku was regarded as a way to preserve the dignity of samurai. Seppuku during the Pacific War. During the Pacific War, seppuku took on a different meaning. At that time, Japan was governed by the Tano. Participating in the war was considered a way to dedicate one's life to the Tano. Many Japanese people chose to end their own lives when they could no longer act in accordance with the Tano's wishes. However, the Tano did not directly order them to do so. It was a decision made voluntarily by the people. By the time of the Pacific War, the samurai system had been abolished, and Japan's military had become westernized. As a result, seppuku during this period took many different forms depending on the situation of the soldiers. Some used explosives to end their lives, while civilians sometimes threw themselves off cliffs. Also, kamikaze shared a similar concept with seppuku. Even during the Pacific War, high-ranking officers carried swords. Many of them were descendants of samurai families and chose to perform seppuku in the traditional way. Way of life. In the past, the Japanese people believed that having a purpose in life was the most important thing. This sense of duty was considered as important as, or even more important than, one's own life. For samurai, in particular, this sense of purpose was especially prominent. For many people, fulfilling their sense of purpose completely was very difficult. If samurai felt they could not fulfill their purpose, they considered ending their own lives to be an honorable act. Seppuku was regarded as a noble act, and some samurai even saw dying by seppuku as their ultimate goal in life. What did you think? Throughout Japanese history, many great figures have performed seppuku. It is not an exaggeration to say that these individuals contributed to shaping modern Japan. Of course, in today's Japan, seppuku has completely disappeared as a practice. However, these ideas may still resonate with Japanese people today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and hit the bell icon. See you in the next video.